First story. My daughter got into trouble defending herself from her school bully. So I allowed my fiancé to punish my daughter. But my entitled daughter refused to get punished, refused to call him stepdad or respect him as my future husband. So I kicked my daughter out of my house. I have no regrets and am proud of what I did. I 27F have been with my fiancé 53M for about a year and a half. The age gap is significant, and I understand that it makes some people uncomfortable. But what a lot of people don't see is that he came into my life during a period when I was really struggling emotionally, financially, and with the sheer exhaustion of being a single mom. He helped stabilize things, brought me back to life, and he's always been good to me. But not everyone sees it that way, especially my family. My parents, siblings, and extended relatives never liked him from the beginning. They call it creepy or inappropriate. They constantly remind me that he's old enough to be my dad, and they question his intentions. They keep saying things like, "What does a 50-year-old man want with someone in her 20s with a kid?" They've never given him a chance. From day one, it's been resistance, judgment, and outright hostility. And that energy has bled into my daughter, too. She's 9 now, and she's been cold towards him ever since I introduced them. I didn't force anything at first, I gave her time. They met casually, I never asked her to call him anything, and I tried to balance my relationship with him without disrupting her life. But she was cold from day one. No eye contact, refusing to respond to him when he spoke, acting out whenever we planned things together as a family. I thought maybe it was just her adjusting. After all, her dad and I split when she was a toddler. Her bio dad isn't really involved anymore. He pops in maybe once or twice a year, sends a birthday message, and disappears. So I figured she had some mixed feelings about another man trying to be present in our lives. But this went beyond adjustment. Over the last year, she started acting out more, giving me attitude, slamming doors, and rolling her eyes when I ask her to do basic things like clean up her toys or get ready for school. Whenever my fiancé tried to step in and help or even redirect her behavior, she'd either ignore him or give me the "why is he talking to me" look. A few times, I asked her privately what her issue with him was. She said, "He's not my dad," or "he's weird," but never gave me a clear reason. Just this kind of vague discomfort. My fiancé, for the most part, let it roll off his back. He said she'd come around. But there were moments, little cracks, where I'd see him get frustrated. One time, we were out at a diner, and she refused to sit next to him. He tried to make a joke to lighten the mood, and she snapped back with, "You're not funny. Why are you even here?" He just quietly got up and asked for his food to go. I was mortified, but I also didn't know how to handle it. My family had already been feeding her this narrative that he was too old, that I was making a mistake, and I couldn't tell where her real feelings started and where their influence ended. A few weeks ago, things started spiraling. I got a call from her school while I was at work. The vice principal told me that my daughter had been involved in multiple incidents over the school year where she made another student cry. This time, it happened on the playground. The staff described it as a pattern of mean behavior, not just one isolated moment. They even used the word bullying, which honestly shocked me. My daughter has always had a bit of sass, but bullying? The school said they'd been trying to redirect her, and that they'd informed me of a few smaller incidents already, which I vaguely remember, things I thought were typical kid drama. But this time felt more serious. The staff suggested I talk to her and implement some kind of discipline at home. My fiancé picked up the call before I could. He was at home when they called the landline, and he called me right after. He was livid. Said this behavior has been escalating, and that I've been too soft with her. He told me that if I didn't take a hard stance, it would keep getting worse, and he was right in some ways. He's been pointing out her disrespect at home for a while, and I've always tried to downplay it, thinking it was just a phase or preteen stuff. But now, it was spilling into school and affecting other kids. So I told him, go ahead and discipline her, within reason. I was still at work, but I figured he'd give her a talk, maybe take away some privileges. When I got home, I went straight to her room. She was sitting on her bed, clearly pissed off. I sat down and asked her what had happened. She immediately said she hadn't done anything wrong, that the other girl was bullying her, and she was just standing up for herself. I asked, "Is that what happened all the other times too?" She said yes. She claimed the school just doesn't like her and always blames her. I told her, it's hard to believe every adult is lying. You need to take responsibility. She got angrier. Told me I never believe her, that I always take his side. Then she blurted out, "I hate him. You should have defended me. He's not my stepdad." My fiancé had walked into the hallway just then and heard it. He came in and started yelling, not screaming curses or anything, but he was loud. He said she needed to show respect, that she's been rude long enough, and that she doesn't get to say who's family and who's not. She started crying. I stood there, frozen, not sure what to say. Part of me wanted to jump in, but another part of me was sick of the backtalk and the entitlement. She had been pushing boundaries for months. I told her, "It's not my fault you bullied someone. You need to listen to your stepdad." She shot back, "He's not my stepdad," and cried harder. My fiancé didn't hold back. He raised his voice more, saying if she didn't want to call him stepdad, fine, but she didn't get to disrespect him in his own home. He told her she was acting like a brat and that she'd been out of control for too long. She was sobbing by this point. Then came the knock on the door. Our neighbor, an older woman who lives directly above us, had heard everything. She stood outside our apartment, yelling that she could hear a child screaming and that someone needed to step in. She told me I was failing as a mother, letting a grown man yell at my daughter like that. She said, loud enough for my fiancé to hear, "You're forcing her to accept some man twice your age, and she clearly hates him." I told her to mind her business, but she wasn't done. She went on Facebook later that night and posted about the situation. She didn't name names, but she described it in enough detail that people figured it out. She tagged me, my brother, my mom, and 2 cousins, saying things like, "It's disturbing how some parents let older men come into their homes and scream at little girls for not calling them daddy." That was her exact tone, passive-aggressive, but loud enough to cause damage. That post blew up. My phone started going off almost immediately. My mom called me sobbing, asking me if it was true. My brother texted, furious. My older cousin straight up told me I was out of my mind and needed therapy. One of my aunts posted in the comments that I should be ashamed of myself for letting a 50-year-old man discipline a girl who isn't even his blood. I tried calling my mom and told her it wasn't as bad as it sounded, that he didn't hit her or anything, just yelled. She wasn't having it. She said, "She's 9. Why is he yelling at a 9-year-old like that?" My dad hasn't even spoken to me since. He told my sister he's done watching this train wreck. I felt backed into a corner. My fiancé stood firm. He said if my daughter kept calling the shots in this house, it would fall apart. He said she was being manipulative, weaponizing tears, and that my family was enabling her. I told him maybe he shouldn't have yelled. He said I didn't have his back, that he's been walking on eggshells trying to be patient with a child who shows open hatred towards him, and that it's unfair he can't even raise his voice without everyone turning on him. I told him I'd talk to my daughter again, but the damage was already done. That night, she wouldn't eat dinner. She locked herself in her room and wouldn't even speak to me. I went in and sat on her bed and tried to talk calmly. I asked her why she hated him so much. She just said, "You don't care about me anymore. You only care about him." I told her that wasn't true, that I was trying to hold her accountable for the school stuff. She said again she didn't bully anyone, that the girl she bullied was mean to her first. I asked why she never told me that. She said, "Because you never believed me." That hit harder than I expected. I didn't know what to say. I tried to explain that adults at school can't all be lying, that there's a difference between standing up for yourself and making someone cry. But in that moment, it didn't matter. She saw me as siding with him over her. And honestly, maybe I did. Then the next day came the worst part. My mom showed up at my job. She told me she was thinking about going to family court, that if I didn't break things off, she'd talk to someone about my daughter's environment. She told me she'd talk to my daughter, and that my daughter told her she didn't feel safe anymore. I don't know if that's true or if it's an exaggeration, but hearing it shook me. Now everything feels like it's collapsing. My fiancé says I'm letting my family walk all over me and ruin our relationship. He says my daughter's behavior is getting worse because no one has disciplined her. He doesn't want to compete with a child for my attention, and he's getting close to moving out if things don't change. My family says they won't support me anymore unless I end the engagement and put Elle in therapy. They say I've become brainwashed. My cousin said point blank that I'm doing long-term damage that my daughter might never forgive. I've tried talking to my daughter again, but she's gone quiet. She barely looks at me. I offered to go out, just the 2 of us, and she said, "Why? So you can ignore me like always?" I've never heard her say something like that before. So here I am. I don't know if I did the right thing. I genuinely didn't think telling her to listen to my fiancé was out of line. I didn't think it was wrong for him to talk to her after a school discipline call. But now it feels like I might be losing my daughter. My relationship is on the edge. My family is furious. and I'm stuck. Ada for siding with my fiancé in the moment, telling my daughter to listen to him, and possibly forcing a relationship she clearly doesn't want. Comments. Comment 1. YTA. Full stop. Your daughter is 9. She's a kid. And you're letting a grown arse man, a man old enough to be her grandfather, yell at her because she doesn't want to call him her stepdad. That's F-ed up. She told you she doesn't feel safe. She told you you don't listen. You still let him raise his voice at her. Do you even hear how that sounds? He's not her stepdad. You're not even married. And even if you were, she still doesn't owe him that title. You can't force emotional connection like it's some chore. It's earned, not demanded. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if she is acting out at school because she's miserable at home. You've shown her that your fiancé's feelings matter more than hers. She's 9, and she already thinks she has no one on her side. You chose a man over your child. Own it. Comment 2. YTA. And I don't say that lightly. I think you've convinced yourself you're holding your daughter accountable, when in reality you're just handing over authority to a man she didn't choose and doesn't trust. You said your family hates this guy. Your kid hates him. Hell, even your neighbor called out the weirdness. At some point, you've got to ask yourself why everyone around you is so concerned. Are they all wrong? The man is 53. That's a serious power imbalance. And now he's yelling at a child and getting butt-hurt because she doesn't want to call him stepdad. If your daughter's acting out at school, it's probably because of what's going on at home. Kids don't live in a vacuum. She's getting yelled at in her own home by a guy she never asked for. Of course, she's lashing out. And instead of sitting her down and really listening, you double down on, just obey him. You're losing your daughter because she sees exactly where she ranks in your priorities. Fix it before it's too late. Comment 3. OP, come on, seriously. A 9-year-old tells you she hates the dude, says she's not bullying anyone, and is clearly upset. And your response is, listen to your stepdad. YTA. Big time. She's not scared of school. She's scared of you. That's what happens when a kid watches their mom hand over the wheel to some dude who's twice her age, and then gets punished for having feelings about it. Your fiancé is throwing tantrums because a child doesn't want to play house with him. That's pathetic. Imagine being a grown arse man mad because a 9-year-old won't give you a title you haven't earned. You're too deep in this guy's orbit to even see what you're doing. Wake up. Because you're not building a family, you're building resentment in your kid. And when she's 18 and gone, you'll be asking Reddit why she never calls. Update. Thanks to everyone who commented on my original post, even the ones who were harsh. I read everything. I don't agree with every judgment, but a lot of the criticism was valid, and it made me reevaluate some choices. A lot has happened since then. Some of it changed everything. This is the full update, and I want to be honest about all of it. Shortly after the blow-up at home, the girl my daughter was accused of bullying her parents reached out. They got my number through mutual school contacts and asked to meet. I assumed it would be about more complaints, but it was the opposite. They apologized. They told me their daughter had lied. She admitted it. My daughter hadn't been bullying her. Their daughter was the one bullying mine. Repeatedly. She teased her about her creepy old stepdad, called her names, excluded her, and turned other kids against her. The incident where she cried. It happened after my daughter finally snapped and told her off. That's the one moment the school caught, but they never saw the weeks leading up to it. The girl confessed to her parents after they pressed her about what really happened. They made her write an apology letter and asked if my daughter would be open to talking. I was shocked. And honestly ashamed. I hadn't believed my own daughter. I immediately called the school, requested a meeting, and brought the apology letter with me. During the meeting, the school staff confirmed the bullying had been ongoing, but they hadn't realized my daughter was on the receiving end. They admitted they made assumptions based on a few moments they witnessed, specifically her reacting angrily and the other girl being more soft-spoken. The school apologized for misjudging the situation. They've now put both girls on monitored peer contact, reassigned seats, and initiated a conflict resolution program. They also added more staff presence during recess and lunch for supervision. My daughter was telling the truth all along. When I got home, I sat down with her. I told her everything. That the girl had confessed. That I believed her now. That I should have believed her then. She didn't say anything at first, just nodded slowly. Then she asked, "Does this mean I'm not in trouble anymore?" I told her no. She wasn't in trouble. I told her I was sorry. I also had a long talk with my fiancé. I told him what happened. He went quiet. Then he said he felt like SHT for yelling at her. He admitted he let his frustration build up and didn't handle it the right way. He said he never wanted her to feel afraid in her own home, and he apologized to her directly. She didn't respond much, but she listened. He didn't push. Now, I know people here are suspicious of him, and I get it. But I want to say this clearly. He's not abusive, and he's not some predator. He's not trying to replace her dad. He and I met at work. He was consulting for a project I was managing. We clicked fast. We didn't expect to fall for each other. I get that the age difference throws people off. But he treats me with more respect than anyone I've ever dated. He helps, he listens, and he's been there financially and emotionally when no one else was. He's not perfect, but he's not some controlling creep. After all that, I went to talk to my neighbor. I didn't go over to fight. I just wanted to clear the air. I told her the situation wasn't what she thought. That my daughter was the one being bullied. That the yelling incident was serious but addressed, and it wouldn't happen again. She said she still didn't like how things sounded, but admitted she might have overstepped by putting it on Facebook. I asked if she was the one who called CPS. She denied it. But CPS did come. A week after the Facebook mess, a social worker showed up for a wellness check. Said they got an anonymous report about possible abuse in the home. They asked to see my daughter, asked questions, and looked around. It was a short visit, and they didn't find any signs of abuse. The case was closed almost immediately, but it was humiliating and stressful. I suspect it was either my neighbor or my parents who made the call. My parents haven't let this go. Even after I told them what really happened at school, they still said I was putting my daughter in harm's way by staying with my fiancé. They brought up going for custody. My mom mentioned a lawyer. I told them if they took this to court, it would hurt everyone. I told them my daughter wasn't being abused, and they needed to back off. Then I asked my daughter the hard question. Did she want to go live with my parents? She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. She went quiet and just stared down at her hands. That silence told me more than any answer. I realized she's scared to say what she really wants. Maybe she does want to be somewhere else, but can't bring herself to say it. So I made a deal with my parents. No court filings, no threats. Instead, we'd do a trial period. She'll stay with them part-time, maybe a week or two to see how it feels. If she thrives there, I'll consider extending it. I don't want a custody battle. I want what's best for her, even if it means less time with me. She took the plan surprisingly calmly. Packed her bag without much fuss. Said goodbye politely. No hugs, no crying, just neutral. That hurt more than anger would have. But I'm letting her go. I won't trap her in a house where she feels unsafe or unheard, even if that wasn't my intention. I'm not proud of how I handled everything at the start. I should have listened to her more, trusted her side of the story, and stepped in before it blew up. I let my frustration with her behavior cloud my judgment. I put too much authority in my fiancé's hands too soon. That's on me. But I am proud of how I turned it around. I got the full truth from the school. I made sure the bullying is being addressed. I got my fiancé to take accountability and change his approach. I kept CPS from escalating. I gave my daughter options and space. I stopped my family from dragging us into court. That's not perfect, but it's something. So here I am now. Tired, humbled, but still standing. I know people will still judge me for the relationship, the decisions, everything. But I'm asking this. Based on how I handled everything after the blow-up and the outcome now, what should I have done differently? What can I still do better? And does anyone actually agree with how I handled it in the end? Because honestly, I'm proud of myself. I didn't abandon my kid. I didn't let the system take over. I owned my mistakes and tried to fix them. And in this situation, I don't know if there was a better outcome. Thanks again to everyone who commented. Even the harsh ones helped more than you know. Comments. Comment 1. You should be ashamed. Truly. You don't get to pat yourself on the back for owning your mistakes when your daughter had to be bullied, publicly humiliated, screamed at by your much older fiancé, and investigated by CPS just to get you to believe her. You didn't protect her. You abandoned her. Not once. Over and over. You handed over control of your home to a man old enough to be her grandfather and let him punish your child, yell at her, and then gaslight her about it afterwards. And now you're proud because you let her move in with your parents like it's some noble act. This won't be a trial period. This is going to be the last time you ever see her as your daughter. That silence you got when you asked if she wanted to leave. That was your answer. She's emotionally done with you. But hey, enjoy your second chance honeymoon phase with your boyfriend. You don't have to compete with a child anymore, right? Comment 2. Disgusting. You handed your daughter off to your parents so you could go play happy girlfriend with your 50-plus-year-old fiancé. And you actually want credit for avoiding a court mess. You know what that means. Your elderly parents are now raising a 9-year-old child again because their daughter decided her boyfriend's ego and comfort mattered more. You didn't let her go. You pushed her out so you could keep your relationship intact. She told you without saying a word. She doesn't feel safe in your home. She doesn't trust you. And instead of doing the hard work to earn that trust back, you sent her away like it's summer camp. You act like this was some hard-won victory. Newsflash, you didn't handle anything. You backed down after everyone else did the emotional labor for you. The school fixed the mistake. The bully's parents stepped up. Your parents offered shelter. Your fiancé didn't even face any real consequence. But sure, take a vacation. Celebrate your freedom. You lost your daughter. Hope it was worth it. Comment 3. You talk a lot about regret, but there's zero actual accountability in this post. You still defend your fiancé. You minimize the damage. You say you're proud, like this was some hero arc. It's delusional. Let's walk through what actually happened. You refused to believe your daughter. You let a grown man yell at her. She cried and begged you to stand up for her, and you doubled down. The neighbor and school bully's parents did more for your daughter than you did. She was so emotionally done, she went silent when asked if she wanted to leave you. And your takeaway is, there wasn't a better outcome than this. This wasn't a resolution, it was a white flag. You lost her. She didn't say it, but she made it clear. Don't ask Reddit if people agree with how you handled it. Ask yourself why a 9-year-old had to be bullied and publicly humiliated just to be heard in her own home. Update. I've seen the comments and messages. I understand people are emotional, but some of the accusations being thrown at me are way out of line. I never abandoned my daughter. She's staying with my parents temporarily because she needed space, and I made that decision with her emotional well-being in mind. As for my fiancé, I'm still with him because I know who he is. He made a mistake yelling. He owned that. But he's not abusive, not controlling, and not trying to replace anyone. I've already said this isn't about choosing a man over my child. It's about trying to balance a very complicated, high-pressure situation without blowing up every bridge. I regret not listening to her sooner. That part is on me. But I've taken steps to correct it, and I'm proud I didn't just run from everything when it got hard. That doesn't mean I deserve to be called a monster or worse in my DMs. My daughter is safe. She's being heard now. That's what matters. Second story. Abusive mom who bullied me all my life, favoring my siblings, physically assaulted and kicked me out at 18, overheard me saying I like my dad more and threatened to not talk to me. I told her it sounds like heaven, and then tried and failed to take away my car and insurance. Now the whole family demands I apologize to my mom, who has done so much for me. I 23F and my mom 49F have never really gotten along. Growing up, she treated me differently from my siblings. I'm the second oldest of 4, and she was always stricter and harsher with me. If I brought home anything less than an A, I got grounded. Even 1B on an assignment meant trouble. My siblings never had that rule. On top of that, she always commented on my weight. She called me the fat kid, even though I was thin. She never said this to my siblings, just me. As I got older, I realized she liked getting a reaction out of me. At first I defended myself, but when I stopped, she escalated and even got physical. On my 18th birthday, while I was still in high school, she kicked me out. By then I was already staying with a friend most of the time just to get away from her. Now, as an adult, I hardly speak to her. At family events we might exchange a few words, but that's it. Recently, I was at my sister's place, and she had my mom on speakerphone. I was in the background talking to my brother, and he asked who I thought was nicer, mom or dad. Without thinking I said, Dad. My dad wasn't great either. He wasn't around much and could be harsh, but compared to my mom, he's nicer. I also talked to him more, though not a ton. My mom overheard, asked what I said, and I repeated it. She snapped and said she'd never speak to me again. I said, You're saying that like it's a bad thing. Honestly, it sounds like heaven. She didn't hang up on me, but ended the call on my sister, who was the one talking to her. Later my sister texted me that my mom took me off her car insurance. I never asked to be on it anyway. She added me without telling me because it lowered her own rate. One day she just said, Hey, I put you on my plan. I didn't argue, but now I see it was just another way to control me. She's done stuff like this before. When I was younger, she'd put my phone on her plan and shut it off whenever she got mad. This time was the same. After removing me, she told my sister, since she thinks her dad is the better parent, let him put her on his insurance. I never said better parent. I just said dad was nicer. She also told my sister she hoped my car got impounded and that she could turn it off through OnStar. My car is fully paid off, so I doubt that's even possible. But the fact she said it was ridiculous. I didn't need her insurance anyway. Before she added me, I was paying for my own. After she removed me, I just went back to mine. Meanwhile, my sister said I was too harsh and should apologize because Mum has done so much for you. I asked what she meant, and she said, she put a roof over your head and gave you food and clothes. That's literally the bare minimum of parenting. Now my mum has gone to my grandparents and aunts, saying I was disrespectful and need to apologize. From my perspective, I just answered my brother's question honestly. So Reddit, Ada. Comments. Commenter 1. Is your mum a registered owner of the car? If so, she may be able to cause problems with it. If she isn't, and even if you don't use OnStar, contact them and let them know and ask them if they have the ability to notate on your car's file that she is not allowed to have any information or use any of the features. Ask about passwording the file. OP, unfortunately, she is. I initially got the car from my grandparents, and I guess when you gift a car, or at least in my state, it cannot be transferred from grandparents to grandchildren. It has to be transferred from parent to child. So the original plan was for my grandparents to sign it over to my mum, who then would sign it over to me. However, she never did that. Probably to have something to hold over my head. But yeah, unfortunately, she is registered as the owner. I'm planning on looking into getting a new car next week, just to be completely rid of her. I'll definitely contact OnStar. Commenter 2. Your mother abused you. Why have contact at all? What does she add to your life? It's common for narcissists to have scapegoats and golden children. Look at r/raised by narcissists. I got similar abuse, being called fat as a skinny kid, etc. And physical and emotional abuse. My parents haven't known where I lived for 12 plus years and have had zero contact from me. I've not long stopped having nightmares about them finding me. OP, we don't really have any contact. Her number is blocked, which is why she had to use my sister as the messenger. I don't speak to her, talk to her, or hang out with her. The only time I see her is at family gatherings, and even then, I hardly go to those, especially if I know she's going to be there. Commenter 3. Objectively, your mum is an ah, but your sister is approaching ah status with her comment. You didn't ask to be born. It is your parents' job to feed, clothe, and house you. You may want to remind your sister that your mum kicked you out at 18, and so her suggestion that a roof over your head merits an apology is wide of the mark. Your NTA. Your family may. Not so sure. Commenter 4. NTA. All you did was state your honest opinion about your mother, who is in awe. Don't take their opinion for anything. You don't need the approval of a family that is in the pocket of an abuser. Sorry, OP. You should probably cut off contact from all of them. Update. Thank you all for your kind words. Honestly, reading your responses really helped me step back and validate my own perspective. Growing up with my mum has always been difficult. She's narcissistic, controlling, and manipulative. Her whole family has mostly tolerated it, which made me feel like I was constantly in the wrong, always backed into a corner. This situation helped me realize I needed to step out of that mindset. I needed to see my experiences from my own perspective and recognize that my feelings and reactions are valid. For instance, talking to my grandmother about the situation confirmed what I already knew. My mum has always treated everyone poorly, and it's not just me. Most family members tolerate her behavior to avoid conflict, even my younger siblings. I've always been outspoken about her treatment of us, which has made me seem difficult. But in reality, I've just been honest about her behavior. As a result of this recent incident, I've decided to go low contact with my brother. He has been influenced by my mum and started calling and texting me with insults about things I supposedly did wrong, things that only make sense from her perspective. I'll probably also go low contact with my sister, because I've realized she shares information about my life with my mum, even after I've asked her not to. I want to protect my boundaries and maintain some privacy. Regarding my mum, I'll be moving to no contact. I was already pretty much no contact, but also I'll be including avoiding family functions where she's present and limiting any other interactions, so that I can protect my mental health and break the cycle of manipulation I've experienced my whole life. Thank you again to everyone who offered support and advice. Comments. Commenter 1. You aren't wrong. As for your sister, put her on an info diet. She can't share what she doesn't know. That does not mean you have to stop talking to her. OP. Yeah, I've put my sister on an info diet for now. I won't be talking to her because, like most toxic narcissistic mothers, mine has a way of turning siblings against each other. She's managed to convince my sister that I've been talking to her and trashing my sister behind her back. Which is insane considering my mum prides herself on supposedly avoiding my calls. I never call that woman and insists she doesn't even speak to me. Yesterday my sister blew up at me over this supposed trash talking, and then immediately called my mum to trash talk me with her, which is pretty hypocritical. Why she believes anything my mum says is beyond me, especially since my mum is a pathological liar. Commenter 2. You can't begin to heal until you pluck the splinter out. If you leave it in, the wound just keeps festering. You've done the painful part and pulled the splinter out. Good for you. Now focus on yourself. Heal, grieve if you need to. Take care of yourself and love yourself. Well done, OP. OP, let the healing begin. Commenter 3. OP, I'm really sorry. You sound like a genuinely good person who was dealt a rotten family. You were NTA in the first post. You're NTA now, and personally, as a Reddit stranger, I admire your shiny spine and how you're comfortable standing up to your abuser. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.